My YouTube journey began with the recordings of Ticket to the Fair by David Foster Wallace in July of 2020, and I followed that with Shipping Out in September of 2020. And back then, I didn't have any plan for my channel. I just thought that these were essays by Wallace that I enjoyed, and I wanted to just record them as I read them myself. And there was no indication at that time when I originally recorded them that this would become anything more than that. But I think a few months, 4 or 5 months later, following the recording of Shipping Out, it started to gain viewers, and it was something that people started to enjoy. And so I continued reading David Foster Wallace and have tried to branch out since then. But obviously, if you followed my channel, the beginnings were largely centered around recordings of David Foster Wallace, and still to this day are among, I think my most demanded recordings, and my best performing recordings since that time. So I think I wanted to just get into why do I enjoy reading David Foster Wallace? Well, there's the one factor, which is just the fact of his quality of writing. He has a very good quality of writing, which I think a lot of times people think is pretentious or wordy, but it's actually not. He actually doesn't use any um, excessive words that are needed. He writes exactly the words that are needed and no more, and this makes for very easy reading and very easy recording. No matter how long his sentences or paragraphs are, the conveyance or the translation of his vision is actually very clear and very easy to read for whatever reason that is. And then there's the factor that for again whatever reason my voice and recording style, some people think I sound like him, whether that's relevant or not, seem to just match. Again, I think it just comes down to his writing being easy to read, and much easier to read than most other recordings. And that's kind of what I found over the years, is that the easiest things to record are the writings, which are just clear and concise and just flow better than others. And that really just separates good writing from not as good writing. Then there's also the factor of just regionality. I think obviously all writing comes from somewhere, comes from a region, and David Foster Wallace was an American, primarily based in the Northeast, Boston, and the Midwest. And I am somewhat from that area in Canada. I'd say we're kind of lumped in to that region in the Toronto region of Canada. And of course, he even writes a bit about Canada of Quebec. I think he had some Quebec heritage on his mother's side, possibly, and of course Boston. Infinite Jest is largely centered in Boston as well. And these are just I don't know. There's something about writers that come from your region where I don't know, their vision of the world and their way of communicating just lines up. It's like listening to music from your culture. It's just I don't know. It just fits a bit better. So I think that's why it's easier and fits for my recordings as well. Is that he does write with a very regional perspective and definitely conveys the culture of northeastern America. I would say, even particularly, like if you could break down, West Coast versus East Coast culture, there, I don't know how to describe it, but there are aspects which can be picked out um, and kind of seen in his writing. So yeah, again, all of these things make for a good fit and why I enjoy reading David Foster Wallace. And then I think kind of the biggest point, if we had to really pinpoint the largest factor, is the fact of his vision. Really, as I said, it is a bit of a northeastern American vibe in his writing, but even larger than that is just his overall vision of life and the human condition and the world. And I know he said, possibly in some interviews, if I remember, that reading is like a communication of consciousnesses, or between the author and the reader. And when that's done well, or when that connection um, fits or when that connection works, you feel like you're kind of communicating with the author. And it might not be for everyone, but for whatever reason, his vision and his writing and the way he sees the world seems to just sync up pretty much perfectly with how I see the world. So when I read him, I see that his mind is kind of processing things and seeing, even small details of life. I think he's very good for making the mundanity of life kind of relevant and interesting. And I think that could be it as well. He makes all aspects of life interesting, not just the grand and the beautiful, but he can make just every part of life fascinating and worth investing in and worth reading about. I'd say if there was some way, I wish they could make movies or videos of his which could capture this vision which he sees, because it's hard to pinpoint. You build a vision or images in your head of things that you read and of novels, and you're not going to exactly translate that into image format. But if they could, I would absolutely love to see that, because yeah, I think it's just that overall vision of his world, which I would feel perfectly comfortable living in, and can definitely connect to, and probably one of the overriding themes, or one of the factors that make that so, is thinking about Infinite Jest. He really is writing about outcasts and the lives of outcasts. Not to say they're you know possibly degenerates as well, but more so just people that have been cast out of society or kind of living on the fringes. But he makes it normal. He builds a world for these people where there's nothing wrong or there's nothing bad about the way these people live, and he gives them humanity and he gives them dignity, and even just the little things they do at the halfway house, and the meetings they attend, and maybe the mundane jobs they work. He makes that world acceptable. So he kind of um, builds a world which, as someone who may be an outcast, can fit right in, and feel perfectly comfortable, and just be accepted. And I think in life, a lot of the times we're kind of pressured, or almost seem to want to try to seem okay, or try and be something we're not, or try and strive for something we don't have. But he really just builds, I would say, an acceptance with, you know, being what you are, and that I think that is the beauty of David Foster Wallace's writing. Is it's writing um, for everyone, where no matter how odd or strange you are, you're going to have a place, and you're going to have a place in the world, and you'll be accepted, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I think overall that's what makes Wallace's writing the most appealing to me, and why I continue to record his writings, and probably will continue to do so in the future until I've read all of it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on that, and let me know your thoughts, and maybe if there's any of his writings which you would like to hear next. Thank you.